We're nearly to voting day in City Council, where the budget for Duval County's fiscal year will be set. We're hearing from Mayor Donna Deegan and getting some surprising outside influence from the state's chief financial officer. You're going to hear from both today. Plus, nonprofits have to reinvent their funding models. We'll speak with an expert and longtime local leader in the sector on This Week in Jacksonville. So glad you're with us today. Florida's chief financial officer says Jacksonville has overtaxed residents by more than $200 million in the last 5 years. Blaise Ngolia made that announcement this week at a news conference on the city's south side, sharing results of an audit that he says his office completed. Ngolia cited a 5-year analysis from his office that includes dates from 3 years under Republican Mayor Lenny Curry and 2 years under the current Democratic Mayor Donna Deegan. Ngolia says he found $200 million in unnecessary budget increases. Also says that the office factors in a population increase, and they put it at 56,000 people. Ngolia says for every 88 who moved to the city, Jacksonville added 1 new government employee, and that's a pace that he calls unsustainable. Also says city salaries have jumped more than 23% in 4 years, which outpaces the private sector and state employees. Ngolia claims wasteful spending isn't going to happen on his watch. He says he's going to call it out.
Just so everyone can understand how we got to this number. And I'm sorry, the big government apologists can go out there and try to sizzle their way around this, and they can try to deflect all they want. But the reality is, this number is the amount that you are all being overtaxed here in the city of Jacksonville.
As a solution, CFO Ngolia suggested the city lower the millage rate by 1.19 mils and cut property taxes to give taxpayers more money back into their pockets. Okay, that's one perspective. We're joined now and today throughout our show by Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan. Mayor, I know that you responded quickly. What do you think about this claim, almost $200 million in 5 years that Jacksonville?
No one I have talked to has any idea where that money would come from. All of our property taxes, every bit of it, goes to police and fire. Everything else, you know, I mean, that is the insane part. I mean, what would we do if we cut $200 million out of the, I don't know where that would come from. Nobody does. He didn't give one solid example. The only thing I kept seeing was a picture of the hologram at the airport, which we partnered with a local Jacksonville small and emerging business woman.
It cost a little less than $200 million.
It was about $50,000, I think, and every mayor in the country welcomes people to their airport either over a video board or over audio. And we thought, what a wonderful way to support a local business. It's become just sort of a straw man for everything. But I will say this: he did not seem to have a presence of mind to talk about. He didn't understand, or didn't seem to understand, unless he just was trying to make a point, that we have both the city and the county, that we have 840 square miles here, that we have. If you're going to talk about people that are big government apologists, that doesn't usually include the police and fire unions, who are coming out strongly against this tax decrease. The Civic Council, made of business leaders, coming out strongly against this tax decrease. Bottom line is, we have a lean budget, and when we presented it, the day we presented it to council, taking no money out of reserves, everybody complimented us. This is a fantastic budget. This is a tight budget. And then all of this happens because of pressure from the state of Florida. I did not get, you remember the old commercial, "Where's the beef?" I got no beef out of this conversation. I kept saying, where's the what is it we're supposed to cut? He said we gave our employees 23%. Now, I know he's encompassing the Curry era, and there was a lot of government money that was coming in then because of COVID. But we have been giving our employees a 3% raise. That's what they get, 3%. In fact, I had a guy came to town hall last night and said, "How come police are getting so much and we're getting 3%? Well, they do put their lives on the line. And we talked about, police and fire and how they have to recruit. But he talked about how he said, "I doubt she gives that kind of money to public safety." That just shows he has no idea of what we've done for public safety, returning them to a defined pension, giving them a 22% pay increase, $270 million from 2019 to today. We have increased our JSO and JFRD budgets. So when he talks about an increase, that was $100 million just for this year. All of that money that he's talking about, that's increases, that I can think of in terms of my administration, has gone to public safety. So I don't know where all this I think he said something on steroids, whatever. That's not been us. We have held the line on taxes. We have not tried to raise taxes, and we have held government to the same levels as when I came in, and have not made it bigger. So I wish there was a little more.
As you put it, beef. Are you talking about substance or
Yeah,
evidence
I mean,
or...
look, as I said, we have cooperated with them fully, and we'll be happy to have them look at our books any day. We have a AA+ rating from the bonding agencies. They think we've been very responsible. It's a lean budget, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm proud of the things that we've done for Jacksonville. So I don't think most people are getting caught up in this. I can tell you in the town halls, I think we have had exactly 2 people in the 5 town halls that we've done that have said, you know, I still want my $1.50 back a month. I still want that. Everybody else has said, please keep the $1.50 and give us our potholes filled and give us our city services that we need and give us, you know, a better city. Yeah. And that's we've had really wonderful town halls.
This is video from town hall just this last Wednesday. You had one Thursday. I know you've got one coming up on Monday night as well.
Yeah.
The CFO called it a bloated, reckless budget. How do you feel about that?
Well, that's why I said I mean, there is no one that has called it that. When you look at this budget, if you were really taking a look at this budget, there's no way you could call this budget that. It's been an incredibly responsible document. And I want to point out, too, that whether you're talking about the previous administration or my administration, the council is very fond of saying to me, the mayor proposes, the council disposes. The supermajority Republican City Council carved up and signed off on every single one of these budgets. So we work together every day to try to create a budget that is good for quality of life for people in the city of Jacksonville, that cares for public safety and does the things that we need. And I think we've worked together well to do that. And I'm hopeful that on Tuesday night we will come up with another very good budget for our folks.
So tell me about the town halls and what you're expressing to people. What kind of feedback you're getting from them as well as you go throughout?
You know, I got to tell you, I love the town halls so much. I just love them because it really lets me see firsthand what people are thinking and feeling, and you know, and a lot of times they even though we're talking about the budget, they'll end up on, you know, I have a ditch next to my house that's been this way for this many years, but it's helpful because my public works people are there and my parks people are there, and everybody's there, and they hear firsthand the frustration of residents when they have something that hasn't been addressed or something that they're concerned about, and I think it's so helpful. But as I said, the huge preponderance of people have come out and said, we know how Jacksonville's been. We're tired of not moving this city forward. We want the services. We understand the need, and we understand how little this would really do to solve the problem. What they would really love to see the state focus on is insurance costs. That's what they'd really love to see. That's what they tell us over and over again. Why aren't they dealing with our insurance? Why are we talking about this? So I think we have taken them line by line basically through the budget and why we've proposed what we've proposed, what we'd like to put back when some of the things that have been cut for health and for you know, some of the issues that council decided to cut out of the budget. But at the end of the day, this is how we take the pulse of the community. And I said to them the last couple of nights after all of this madness and hideous situation we had with Charlie Kirk, you know, we have to get to the point where we have things like this all the time with groups all over the place, not just me and you. We've got to start sitting down and talking through our differences and what we agree and disagree on with a mind of love for each other as citizens of the same city that have different ideas. Because if we keep going down this current path, you know, the flame throwing and just the ugly words, I'm telling you, I mean, this scenario that we're seeing played out over and over again is only going to get worse. And so I've been ending those meetings talking about my appreciation and the importance of making sure that we're all come and talk to me about things you disagree about. I'm fine with it. Let's show everybody how that works. We can disagree agreeably and be okay in our city.
It has to be that we can disagree, we can share different thoughts and not come to a place of violence, vitriol, hate, all of that.
That's not us, and we shouldn't allow that to happen.
So I appreciate that. The mayor's going to stay with us a few more minutes, and eventually we'll move on from the budget. I got a couple more questions, though. But stay with us, and we'll continue the conversation with Mayor Donna Deegan next on This Week in Jacksonville.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
And Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan is with us today. So we touched on the chief financial officer's visit to Jacksonville this week. There's a perhaps related issue from City Council about decreasing property tax by lowering the millage rate. You disagree, and you received some support from some key organizations, police and fire unions. They backed your view. So did Civic Council. That's a group of business and community leaders. Why is that support important to you, and maybe what does it mean for the city's health long term?
Well, look, I think it's so important to have people come out publicly and say what they believe is best for the health of our city. The Civic Council has always been very engaged behind the scenes. Police and fire very often very engaged behind the scenes. But I think it gives a lot of credence to their positions when they come out publicly and say, hey, we want the community to know this is going to hurt us and we really don't want you to do it. And you know, especially for police and fire, because they're, you know, they don't want to be in that position, but they keep hearing, oh, we promise, you know, none of these cuts are going to hurt police and fire. You can't possibly make that promise. It's going to be $77 million over the next 5 years if they make this cut. That's a minimum of what we're going to see, because property values are now starting to creep down a little bit, so we may take in less over the coming years. Police and fire they understand what the costs are going to be as more and more people come into the pension, as these raises step up over the years, and they're like, look, don't tell people it's not going to hurt public safety. But beyond public safety, what they've said to me is, we care also about the quality of life in our city. And we don't want people to think we just care about public safety. We care about everything else that happens in our city. And if these cuts happen, we don't believe that's going to be beneficial to our citizens. And same with the Civic Council. So we have just a wide variety of people with huge investment in this city who are saying to this council, please don't take this step. And frankly, folks on this council know what kind of budget scenario we've been in. We've been so good and responsible with the dollars that we've gotten, but we shouldn't take a step back to possibly threaten being able to provide city services for people. We just shouldn't do that. And I'm hopeful that with these voices, it will give other citizens, you know, sort of that feeling that they could come and speak out, because they're buoyed by that. And I know they'll be making statements again this coming week.
Civic Council, do you think that ever presents as a partisan organization? It doesn't seem
never.
like it.
That's what I'm saying. And neither does police and fire in terms of the unions. They're obviously very focused on what they do, but nobody wants to be partisan. And I don't think this is a partisan argument. I know that it presents that way, because I think, as I've said, I believe council is getting a lot of pressure from the state of Florida, because that's the drill right now. But I don't think to any of these folks it's a partisan issue. It's a Team Jacksonville issue. It's I love Jacksonville and I want it to be okay. And what we've seen over the years, Kent, over and over again, is we take one step forward and two steps back, because we aren't investing in the time when we need to invest. We have momentum. We need to continue investing in our people.
Yeah, probably our last question here, but nonprofits in Duval County, they're going to feel the hit in this new budget as proposed, because several $1 million were taken out of programs that we talked about the last time you were here.
Yeah.
Should municipalities be sending money towards philanthropic purposes like nonprofits, or do these nonprofits need to find a different way to support their organization?
Listen, I come from the nonprofit world, right? So I know how difficult that is, but I also know that nonprofits do a great job of supporting their organizations. I think when we're talking about an issue that the private sector is not resolving, like what we're talking about with some of these health programs. Yeah. What our job to do with these pilot programs is show a proof of concept that if we can provide a telehealth appointment to a person without insurance, then that person will save us millions of dollars on the back end to not go into the emergency room. We're trying to get the private sector bought into these programs, so every year that they take a little bit more of that. And I think that that's really important. In terms of the nonprofits, they're our partners in a lot of this work. But yeah, we obviously want them to be on their own and making sure they can do what they can do. But it doesn't mean they're not going to need to come ask the city for partnership from time to time. And I think those partnerships are fantastic for our city. They do great work. They're resourceful. And they turn on a dime because they have to. And they've been wonderful partners to have. And I hope we continue to have those partnerships.
Well, Mayor, I know we talked last segment about the town hall coming up tomorrow night, and then Tuesday night, City Council will be voting on the budget. We'll keep following it, of course. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much.
All right, so as we just heard, one of those budget battles concerned funding for nonprofits in Duval County. Coming up, my conversation with the leader of the local nonprofit center and the challenges ahead in that sector. That's next on This Week in Jacksonville.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville on Channel 4.
Don Lockhart leads the Nonprofit Center of Northeast Florida. And we spoke this week about what's happening for nonprofits in an era that's created uncertainty and sometimes insolvency.
So first of all, we have an incredible nonprofit sector. I've been so fortunate to be in the sector for a very long time, so I've seen the ebbs and flows. But right now, we're suffering. We have about 7,000 nonprofit organizations, of which 1,500 of those actually file 990s, so those are the ones we have the data on. Of those organizations, 35% of them are in the red, and only a third of them have reserves. And that was data that we were able to glean from 2023, because that's when their tax forms were filed. So roll that forward to today, with the cut in funding and the loss of CARES Act funding, and we've got some hurting organizations.
So tell me about the two components that come to mind for me. I know at the federal level, lots of cutbacks and this Department of Government Efficiency stuff. We're going to wipe out a bunch of places that we send money. I'm also seeing that in the budget negotiations here in the city of Jacksonville, and that's still to be voted on yet. But it seems like those both in different ways are going to have an impact.
So the nonprofit sector is an ecosystem. We depend on federal, state, local funding in order to be able to help support an organization. So we've already lost, or it's been paused, close to $750 million in federal funding for Northeast Florida. So think about the impact of that.
That's not a drop in the bucket.
No, it's not. Think about the impact of that as state funding potentially gets paused or cut, and then city funding gets paused or cut. Nonprofit organizations just don't have the reserves, which I've already mentioned to you, so they don't have the capacity to float government while government figures out what it is they're going to focus on, invest on. So this has really become a really urgent community challenge, and I think the role and responsibility right now rests with civic leadership. Those trustees who are leading the boards of nonprofit organizations to think really quickly and seriously about what are the options that are available to ensure sustainability of mission.
Yeah, it's certainly going to have to get creative in some of those options, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about the impact of nonprofits in our region, and this maybe goes to even countering an argument that some may have said, oh, that's nice to do, to give to, and obviously lots of different missions among the nonprofit organizations we're talking about, but there's a bigger impact that it has on our region, right?
Sure. I mean, the nonprofit sector is responsible for lifting up the quality of life. We do that in partnership with volunteers, with elected officials, with civic leaders, with citizens of everyday walks of life, but we all come together for the purpose of celebrating and lifting up the quality of life that we all benefit from. My grandchild one day will benefit from early learning centers and high quality school systems and the importance of caring for seniors and food banks and all of those things that just create a sense of neighborhood and humanity for our community, and it's what we want. And so what we're seeing right now is that go into question. You've got nonprofits who are underfunded, they're undervalued, but they're not also being underestimated. We've got an opportunity now to think about how do we innovate and think very differently about driving a sector that is sustainable and is capable of adapting to these constant shifts in the marketplace.
So what's your role or influence for these nonprofits with what you do at the Nonprofit Center?
Well, we're making some pretty big shifts. We've launched a dashboard called Catalyst, which provides a ton of information on the current state of the community. You can go on and see 9 different counties and understand all of the different data points and where we're at as a community. We're bringing together hundreds of organizations to help them understand how to align, how to develop data sharing agreements, make sure they understand how to do strategies that will leverage the investments that they're making. We're also diving deep into the launch of a shared services model where we can provide back office support for organizations so that as funding is being cut, we can help them increase their efficiencies by offering them fractional executives or even fiscal sponsorship where we're completely managing the back office for them so that they can focus on the impact.
So I think about the recent conversation with this budget process in Duval County in the city of Jacksonville, and council said we're going to cut essentially $13 million, and we're going to offset that by reducing some property taxes, what have you. I don't know if you've had the opportunity, but if you could speak to city council and say, here's why it'd be really great if you don't cut that $13 million, what would you say?
Well, I gave you the numbers on the loss of cuts that we're experiencing from the federal government. This community doesn't have the capacity to absorb any more cuts. And so we're going to have to quickly pivot and figure out what are we going to do to reduce services at a time when the demand for services is at an all-time high. So I am really looking forward to developing these systems and structures that will ensure continuity of services and hoping that the elected officials that are here and elected to care for our citizens understand the impact that it's going to have.
And thanks for joining us today. Next time, Chris Hand is with us. We're also going to hear from Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson. And don't forget to check out This Week in Jacksonville Business Edition. This episode of our podcast focuses on the new Hilton Hotel about to open at Mayo Clinic and why it's different.
See why every day more people are choosing News 4 Jax, Northeast Florida and South Georgia's #1 source for local news.